Hello there, it's Pauline from Firestar Therapies, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the black dog. So, a few years ago, I was very lucky enough to own this beautiful dog. Her name was Caffrey. She was a Labrador Lurcher, and she was, like most dogs, a very, very loyal companion, and I loved her immensely. And she passed a few years ago. But I also want to talk to you today, really, about another black dog that appeared in my life when I was a teenager. And this black dog was also a loyal companion, a companion whether I wanted it or not. And it was the black dog of depression. So, depression can hit at any age, it can hit with a variety of emotions, a variety of circumstances, and it can come up upon us very, very quickly, or it could be a slow approach. So, rather like a dog slinking towards you and then suddenly it's there. And there are lots of connections. So, with regards to it being a black dog, and I could really associate with this. So, when I was younger and I suffered from depression, I didn't know it was depression. I didn't know what it was. And I didn't really notice that it had been creeping up on me. But looking back now with hindsight, which is always a great thing, I could see there was lots of different triggers and things going on in my life that created a depression. And the black dog at that time led me right to the very edge, right to the very edge of life. And I didn't know where to turn to. I didn't know what to do. So I suppose my feelings were at that time was that I was actually on the edge of a cliff. I'd actually jumped off the edge of the cliff. I was holding on with my bare hands and I was gradually pulling myself up. And that's how it felt. It felt like it was a personal struggle, a personal, second by second, moment by moment, very difficult experience. And one where I gradually, by, I suppose, just focusing more on day to day things and I don't know, maybe friendships and people that I sort of pulled myself out of that. But with the black dog, one thing I have learned is rather like a puppy. Okay, there's no good actually. If you think of a puppy can be quite crazy when you first have it and you need to train it. So there's no good actually throwing the puppy in a cupboard and thinking that that puppy is going to go away. And depression is rather like that. If you push down all your emotions and everything that you're feeling, okay, you can be putting those emotions in a closet, but it's not going to get rid of them. It's just sort of almost avoiding the inevitable. The dog is still there in the closet. So what we need to do is we need to actually bring the dog out and we need to actually put it on a lead and we need to train it. Okay. But there'll be times in our life where the black dog can approach us and we're not aware of this. And the dog comes out of nowhere and it comes in and it wrecks our life and it wrecks our homes. If you think of an untrained animal that's jumping all over your furniture, waking you in the middle of the night, that's what depression is like. Depression can really get a hold of you. So you might not sleep at night. You might not be able to get to sleep because you've got many, many thoughts going on in your head. You may wake several times. You may not be able to sleep in the day. You may not feel like you've got an appetite. You might not want to eat. You might not be bothered to get out of bed, etc., etc., etc. I can go on and on and on because depression is all encompassing. And what I would say is there are different levels of depression, okay? And what is a very bad level for you might not be as bad for me. How I cope with one level, you might not be able to cope with. So there isn't a hierarchy of depression. It isn't like that person's had this lot of grief, they've lost their job, I don't know, their relationship's broken up, and they've got all of those life events that are happening. So actually, their grief is and their depression is somehow worse than my depression. It doesn't work like that. It's actually very personal and it's how you feel. It's about your emotions. So actually, if you need help, okay? And that's one of the big things I would say. Reach out to other people. As a child, I didn't understand that. As a teenager, I didn't understand that, and I didn't really know where to go. Now people can talk about their depression. I won't say they talk about it a lot. I think there's still people that hide it away. But actually, if you are experiencing any form of depression at this stage, reach out. There are so many good support groups. There is Mind, which is one of the main ones. There's the Samaritans you can call. There's your GP. You can go on antidepressants. And all of these things will help you. There are other things that you can do. Okay. And again, it depends from day to day what you can do. So I would say start by setting small goals. Okay, now it could be that your goal is just to get out of bed in the morning and get dressed. And that can be your goal, as simple as that. Okay. It could be that you need to cook yourself a proper meal. Okay. Really, with discoveries, they found that exercise is very, very good for your mental health, and actually being in nature and being around trees and being around animals is also very good. So again, if you can incorporate those things into your day, even if it's a 10-minute stroll around your garden, that will actually have a benefit on your mental health. Things like being in nature and actually connecting with nature. So it could just be going out in the evening and looking at the stars. It's a way of taking your focus away from what's going on in your head and being able to really focus on something else. The same with a tree. Go and sit with a tree, look at the tree, look at the branches, just be in nature and be in walk and just observe, and do that slowly. Be slowly and present in nature. Okay. Look at the things you are grateful for. Okay, they could be very, very small things, but that's okay. So it could be the fact that the sun has risen today. It's beautiful and frosty out there today. I've been out for a walk and I've seen this amazing deer in a wood. I've also seen this morning beautiful spiders' webs covered in frost and the trees covered in frost. And I've looked at some holly and I've seen beautiful flowers actually appearing on the buds of holly. So there is beauty out there, and it's actually finding it. Okay. And these are small steps. You don't need to do everything all at once, but it's small steps. One of the things that I've found has helped me is actually having a jar. Okay, and this is particularly good in lockdown. And in your jar, have a list of paper of things that you know will make you feel good. Okay, and you write them on the pieces of paper, you pull one out, and that's what you're going to do today. So it could be a small thing, it could just be to read a chapter of the book that you've been putting aside. It could be to do that walk. It could be to do some painting. It could be do some drawing. It could be I don't know, listen to an uplifting podcast, for example. Okay, there's lots of different things out there that you can actually do, and sometimes it's actually the starting of it. With depression can be lots of different emotions that may have not been expressed in you, and they've built up and built up. So actually expressing your emotions is a good way to actually release them. So for example, if you've been suffering from grief, it could be that you've not actually dealt with the grief, and it could be that somebody's passed a long time ago, but you've never dealt with that. So again, there are grief support groups out there, but actually writing a letter, writing your feelings out, and then maybe burning that or ripping it up and putting it into the earth. So you're getting those feelings out of your body. Talking to a friend. Okay, finding a friend that's a really good listener and just talking to them and just saying to them how you're actually feeling. Okay, opening up to somebody else. Okay. The other thing I would say is what can happen in our lives is we can have lots of things going on. So later in my life, I had another bout of depression because I personally feel, from my experience and also clients' experiences, that the black dog never goes away. The black dog is always there lurking. So I went through a period of time where I actually lost my job, and then I moved home, and then I had ill health, and there were lots of what we call the big life events that were happening to me. And I fell into a period of depression at that time. And often, when there are endings of things, this can actually bring up lots of emotions. And actually, it's those times that you need the support. So often, people give the physical support in terms of maybe helping you find a job, going through a job agency, for example. Maybe you have got friends helping you move home. But often, the emotional side of that, you need some support with as well, because especially when you're going through lots of life changes. Black dog days will pass. Okay. And I really want to emphasize that actually just because you're experiencing depression now, just because you may be in that black hole or that big dog is taking over your life, okay, these days will pass. Your life will get better. What you need to do now is really take that first step. Go and get professional help. Go and phone your GP. Go and do it now. Go and reach out to a friend. Go and ask for some support. Okay. Get some help with any emotional problems. So, for example, if you've got an addiction, sometimes we turn to things like drugs or alcohol to actually help us through depression. It doesn't really help. Okay, we might think it's helping, we might think it's deadening the emotion, deadening the pain, but actually longer term it isn't. It's just creating us another problem that we need to deal with. So if you feel like you're going down that path or you are on that path already, again, get help with that as well. Okay, it tends to be all encompassing. You can get through this. On the sad side of this, okay, there are people that get to the point where they feel that life can no longer go on. Okay, and I've lost friends over the years who have just felt they've come to the end of that point. And I have to say, it was absolutely horrific losing those people and attending their funeral. And I wish for just a moment they had reached out to somebody, they had just reached out to a professional, they'd reached out to a friend and said, actually, I am really struggling. Because although the whole mental health awareness, everybody is talking about depression, everybody is talking about mental health awareness, people are still embarrassed, people still feel there's a stigma, people still put on this happy smiley face and they're trying to like ram this dog into a closet so nobody actually knows what their life is like. People are putting things on Facebook to say they've got this wonderful joyous life, but actually inside they're probably sat in their room just crying. Okay, if you feel like that, reach out to somebody at this moment. Reach out to a professional person. Ring somebody that can actually help. Ring your doctor. Get support. Okay. I never, ever, ever want to go to another funeral of somebody that I love or somebody that I care for or who is a friend who has decided that life is not worth living. Because actually, you can change. The life can be turned around. It's slow steps. You might not feel like that at the moment, but it is possible. Okay, I've been in that very, very dark place and I have turned my life around. So I know it is possible. From a holistic point of view, okay, talking about energy, okay, what happens is our energy centers begin to change so they don't react in the same way. And people talk about mindfulness and they talk about meditation and those things that can help. And yes, healing, Reiki, meditation has been a great help to me. But what I would say is if you're just feeling, I'd say slightly low, okay, slightly depressed, or you're feeling obviously this whole fear at the moment, which people are feeling because of COVID, because of job situations, etc., etc. Okay, mindfulness and Reiki can possibly help. Okay, there's apps out there I can help you with meditation, etc. What I would say though is for a lot of people, when they do these apps, it's about stilling the mind. And actually, for people that are really in a dark place of depression and their mind is just chitter chattering, saying they're not good enough, why haven't they thought of this? And all these, or even just not feeling anything, okay, an actual absence of emotion, an absence of feeling, okay, which is common in depression. Actually trying to do something where you're clearing your mind or mindfulness can be quite challenging. Okay, it's almost adding another thing that you're going to fail at. So I would say start small, start with things like a mood journal, start with walking in nature, start with being maybe mindful of your breath. Okay, and the other thing I would say is also bring things where you have your energy is being brought to your body. Okay, so put on those great tunes. Okay, we've all got them in our house. Those tunes, those anthems that will get us up dancing, and dance around the kitchen. Do some singing, do some movement. Okay, because energetically in our bodies, when we are still, we hold on to those emotions. When we move, when we shake, when we get everything really flowing freely, we're actually shedding off those emotions. So actually doing a lot of movement, doing a lot of dance, doing a lot of singing. Okay, that's great. Doing things that are creative, buy some air dry clay, do some painting. Okay. If you're getting those thoughts that I can't do this, I'm not good enough, or your teacher said, oh, you'll never be a singer or never be an artist, forget that. Okay. That's not true. Okay. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a singer. You don't have to be a potter. Okay. You can just do this. If you get your plain piece of paper and decide you're going to do some writing to release, or you decide you're going to do some painting or some drawing, or maybe draw your emotions and then burn it, okay, or create something, okay, and you're feeling like, I don't want to ruin that nice piece of paper, okay, use your fingers, use paint, okay, use newspaper, use the back of a cereal packet, okay. There's no excuse, okay? Just do it in its imperfect way. We always believe that we have to be perfect. We always believe that everything has to be just so, but life isn't like that. Life is messy. Life is crazy. Life is challenging. Life is difficult. There are ups, there are downs. Life isn't meant to be this smooth flowing. And actually, when we get to the darkest places, we can actually create the most changes in our lives, because we actually then come into the light. And perhaps actually, and one of the things I've learned from depression is actually now I can deal with my emotions better. I can embrace my problems more. I can recognize the depression when it's coming on me, and I've reevaluated my life and I've made changes. So I hope that can help some of you today, and please reach out if you need any support. Thank you. Bye.